Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. In this video, we're going to go over clear symbolism that predicted the Maui fires and the use, and what I believe was the use of directed energy weapons or some sort of weapons against humanity, whether it's weather modification to cause Hurricane Dora, or that supposedly caused the winds that made the fire worse, or the directed energy weapons that could have also been involved. Now, if you guys haven't watched my last live stream that got about 1,000 views so far, please go back and watch that, because a lot of information I'm going to present here is going to kind of tie into that information in the last video. But in this video, we're going to talk about, once again, a very clear symbol and predictive event that came out but 1 month before the Maui fires that was telling us what was coming, okay? And I'm going to focus on this singer, Nate Smith, who released the song World on Fire 1 month, exactly 28 days before the Maui fires started. So who is this Nate Smith? Because he's somebody that just started becoming famous. And in fact, not only did he release a song called World on Fire 1 month before the Maui fires, he also became famous from another song titled Wildfire. So he has two songs. The one he became famous for in 2020 on TikTok was called Wildfire. And then a month before Maui fires, he releases his new song called World on Fire. So first of all, ask yourselves what the chances is of that. And now, what's this guy so connected to fires for? Well, just read his story, guys. He was born and raised in Paradise, California, as a church leader, and he was inspired by the band Fleetwood Mac. And I'm going to get into that in a minute, because this is the biggest part of the ritual, is his supposed inspiration from the Fleetwood Mac. But just notice, guys, that after returning to his home in Paradise, California in 2018, Smith's home was burned down in the Butte County campfire. Okay, so what are the chances, guys? I mean, his home was burned down in the Butte County campfires. And just so you guys know what these were a very similar event in the destruction-wise, a very similar fire to what happened in Maui. And notice that it happened on November 8th in 2018. And again, this Nate Smith is from there, and his home burned down supposedly. And then he becomes famous from a song on TikTok called Wildfire. And then 1 month before Maui fires, he releases World on Fire. Okay, so this guy obviously is all about fire. Now, you remember in his bio on Wikipedia, it says he was inspired by Fleetwood Mac. Well, this is no coincidence, guys, because Fleetwood Mac is intimately involved in this Hawaii fire. Why? Because if you go and you look up some of the top stories, one of the band members of Fleetwood Mac, the drummer Mick Fleetwood, owns a bar in Maui, in Lahaina, that burnt down in the fires. So what are the chances of that? Nate Smith, who's all about fire, is supposedly inspired by Fleetwood Mac, and their drummer has a bar that burnt down in the fire on Maui. Okay? Notice that his bar is called Fleetwood's on Front Street. I'm going to get to that in a minute and how it's tied to gematria. Again, on this channel, guys, I use gematria, which is a simple code of coding letters into numbers so you can see the numerical connection between these different names and phrases. But first thing I want to mention about Mick Fleetwood and his connection to Freemasonry. Well, Mick Fleetwood, who owns the bar that burnt down in Lahaina, he was born on June 24th, 1947. That's not just any ordinary date, guys. That was the date that the English Grand Lodge of Freemasonry was founded, right here. The premier Grand Lodge of England was founded on June 24th, kind of like Mick Fleetwood was born on June 24th. Okay, what are the chances that he's born on Freemasonry's lodge's birthday, right? And not only that, but he's connected to this Nate Smith, who supposedly was inspired by Mick Fleetwood's band Fleetwood Mac. And again, I'm going to show you how the gematria tells the complete story here of this Freemasonry riddle. And so, yeah, let's go look at the gematria, guys. Let's go see how this is all connected. So in my last video, I talked about the movie Firestarter, which just happened to have a 3-cipher match to Freemasonry: 139, 58, 158. And notice that the song that was released by Nate Smith, called World on Fire, also happens to have the 139 and 158, like Freemasonry, like Firestarter. Also notice that the Butte Campfire, if you just relate it to that, because it can be known as the Butte Campfire. If you type it in, this is what comes up. It's in Butte County. The Butte Campfire also equals the same as Freemasonry, as Firestarter, and as World on Fire, 139. And how is this connected to Maui, guys? Well, Maui also equals 139. So these two numbers are huge when it comes to this riddle: the 139, the 58, and the 158. And notice that Fleetwood Mac also equals 58, like Freemasonry, and like Mick Fleetwood was born on Freemasonry Lodge's birthday, right here, June 24th, 1717, and Mick Fleetwood, June 24th, 1947. So what are the chances of that, guys? The gematria tells us the story once again. Again, I just started off by telling you that Nate Smith, who has a song called World on Fire and Wildfire, and, it's just absolutely insane, okay? Now, to make another connection to this, we're going to go to a different gematria. We're going to go 248 and 80 number. So I'm going to show you how these numbers are connected to this. So Nate Smith, who was inspired by Fleetwood Mac, and Fleetwood Mac's drummer's bar burned down in the Maui fire. Well, Nate Smith released the song World on Fire. If you combine the name of him and the name of his song, it equals 248. Kind of like the bar that burned down, Fleetwood's on Front Street, 248. Not to mention they both have 80 in septenary in this case. So what are the chances, guys, that this guy's name and song that he releases a month before matches the name of the bar that's owned by Fleetwood Mac's drummer? Okay. And if that wasn't enough, just notice that if you go with the 139s, okay, you're going to notice that Nate Smith equals 39, like Freemasonry in the septenary cipher. Just like Nate Smith World on Fire equaled 80, like Fleetwood's on Front Street, which is the bar that burned down. So again, this is all tied to Nate Smith and the Fleetwood Mac connection, because again, he was spy. And why did they have to put this in here, guys? Why did they mention Fleetwood Mac? Because it's part of the clue. It's part of the ritual. Okay. And this guy is intimately connected with fires because, again, he has two songs connected to fires. The whole music video is a fire behind him. And this was 1 month before. How much more obvious can it get? Okay. Another thing I'd like to mention here, let me make sure I hit all my points, is that the original song that Nate Smith became famous for was called Wildfire, and the album that song was on was released on May 8th, kind of like Freemasonry equals 5/8, like May 8th. And again, I just showed you that also all the 58s, so what's the chances that his first album with Wildfire on it was released on 5/8 and his home burnt down in the Butte Campfire, which equals 58, like Firestarter, like Fleetwood Mac, okay, like Freemasonry. But if you measure from the 5/8 date to the start of the Maui fires, you get 1187 days, and that's 39 months exactly. Okay, right here, 39 months and 0 days. So exactly 39 months after his first album with Wildfire to the start of the Maui fires. 39 months exactly, and I just showed you how the 39 is tied to this, because 39 is Nate Smith. Once again, 39 months exactly after his first album, the Maui fires, like Nate Smith, like Freemasonry. Not only that, guys, but if you look at this number of days between his first album and the Maui fires, you're going to get 195th prime. Well, what's interesting about the 195 here is that if you type in the name of Nate Smith and his song Wildfire, which was on the album I'm talking about, it equals 195. What are the chances of that, guys? 195, Nate Smith Wildfire, and from the release of his album, Nate Smith, the artist Nate Smith releases Wildfire on this album on May 8th, and from that day to the fires is the 195 prime, and 195 is the name Nate Smith Wildfire. Okay? And not only that, guys, but I just noticed this, but look at the height they have Mick Fleetwood posted as. This is the guy who had his thing burned down. And yeah, look, 195 meters, 1.95 meters. And again, that's connected to Nate Smith, who I already connected, and his name, his song Wildfire, Nate Smith Wildfire equals 195. And it was the 195 prime days from the release of his first album to the Maui fires. And that's where, Mick Fleetwood's bar burnt down, So what are the chances of all this? Also, I'd like to mention this show that's called World on Fire that's about World War II, of course, guys. And I talked about this in my last video, my last live stream. But of course it's about World War II, guys, because again, what happened with Hawaii in World War II? That was where Japan attacked. And in my last video, I made connections to Japan. Biden is meeting with the Japanese president in a few days. So this Japan riddle is also there, but I'm not going to talk about that in this video. I just wanted to talk about this Nate Smith and this World on Fire and how they told us before. And this is also connected because, again, this is all about World War II. And the show is called World on Fire, which happens to have the same gematria as I showed you, 139. If you type that in, you get all the 139s, and that's Freemasonry, okay? So yeah, also guys, I made a post in my community section earlier today with more info about Rihanna and how she's connected to this, which I also talked about in my last live stream. So if you guys go check out my community section on YouTube where I wrote the information out for you guys to see, and go back and watch my other video, this is just an update of more clues that we had beforehand of this Maui fire, okay? And I think what I present here is pretty undeniable. Most people in the world don't get this, but I know here on the channel, you guys get it. So anyways, if you guys would like to support the channel, I'm now here in Albania because in Germany, I'm only allowed to stay for 3 consecutive months and I have to leave. So I'm coming to Albania for 3 months and then I'll be going back to Germany. Of course, that's where my girlfriend lives. If you guys would like to support the channel, please hit the like, and I will leave a link in the comments of this video for you guys to donate if you shall like to do that. And as always, I appreciate all of you guys' support very much, and thank you for watching. And I will see you guys possibly in a live stream later tonight or tomorrow. And anyways, take care out there. God bless. We'll see you in the next one.